Welcome to Spotlight, where each week a guest takes center stage for an intuitive tarot reading. You'll get a front row seat to a real recorded session as we explore the magic of tarot together. My goal is to create a space where we navigate challenges, uncover fresh perspectives, and reconnect with inner wisdom, giving you a glimpse into what it's like to receive a reading with me. Interested in being a Spotlight guest? Just fill out the application below and I'll be in touch about getting you on. Now, without further ado, let's meet this week's guest. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Spotlight. This is the series where I bring guests on to receive an intuitive tarot reading. And I have a really great guest today. Her name is Anne Alexander Sieder. She was actually a guest a couple of episodes where we talked about her Passion to Pro project. Thank you so much for being here today, Anne.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Sarah. I'm super excited about my tarot reading. I love this. I had as a teenager, I used to do readings for myself and my friends and all of that. I was never great at it. It's not like I wasn't getting, I was just sort of trying to interpret the cards by myself, but I really was into it. And I love this kind of a thing. So I'm really excited about it.
That's awesome. That was actually how I started, was with a deck of my own cards. So, and I was about
Yeah,
14, 15 when I started. It's like the taboo, like, oh, let's check this out kind of a thing. And
exactly. Yeah.
yes, yes. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
exciting. Well, I'd love to see what your experiences are with this compared to like what when you played with it when you were younger. But yeah, so I'm so excited to have you on, have a reading. I know that when we talked pre-recording, you were wanting to do more of like a career based. So it'll be a higher self by higher self spread, and we'll focus on what you need to know around your career. So while I go ahead and shuffle, why don't you share a little bit about you, and then if you have you had any other professional readings from the past, or was it just when you were younger and kind of played with the cards?
A friend of mine has actually become a professional tarot reader. So while she was still in apprenticeship, gave me a reading. And it was good, but I think it's still so recent, so it's hard to say. Um, so I have had a professional reading before, but only one really, I guess, as far as tarot goes. I've sat with mediums before as well, and other types of spiritual readings, I guess you could call it. Not necessarily a medium, but someone who reads energy or Reiki. Yeah, I've always been super interested and really open to all of that. So, yeah. And yeah, you asked me to say a little bit about myself. My name is Anne. I'm an actor who lives in Germany. I've been here for 30 years. I came for love, not my career, but I have managed to make both work. I still have my same guy that I came here for 30 years ago, and I still have my career. So that's all good. And I'm curious about my acting career, but I'm actually, because I've also become a coach in the past couple of years, and I'm really expanding my business, going off in a couple of different directions with it. So I serve actors, or I help actors who are trained and who've been in the business for a couple of years, but aren't still getting the roles that they know they deserve. So I'm a career coach for that kind of person. And I'm also starting a brand new thing in June, which is called Passion Project to Purpose, which is all about helping people, regardless of what their passion is, to figure that out, monetize their passion without having to be the expert by curating experts, coaches, whatever it is that their thing is, and bringing these people in, creating events around that, and basically creating a curriculum around their passions. And then they'll find the people. You can think of these like a museum curator curates an exhibit or a gallery. So it's very similar to that, and people resonate with one gallery as opposed to another because of the curator. So it's teaching people how to curate their passions in a way that it can resonate with other people and in a way that they can actually earn money from it without having to be the expert. So that's where I'm at with that. Yeah.
That's super exciting. And yeah, I'm curious what your reading's going to focus on, if it's going to be more acting based or more. I have a feeling it'll probably be more geared towards your coaching and your other programs, but you'll have to tell me that once we're, once we get
Okay.
going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
but yeah,
when Netflix calls, I'll go, but you know,
hey, Netflix makes some amazing movies, so
they do. They absolutely do. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. So I went ahead and did my higher self spread. It's a spread that I created kind of accidentally or more organically. It created itself, really. There's going to be 7 cards. I'm going to go over your theme, your past, present, future energies, and then higher self messages as a whole. And I know I said this pre-recording, but just a reminder, feel free to interrupt me at any point in time if you have questions or comments, because I'll
Okay.
just start talking and not stop unless I need to. I've been working on remembering to stop and check in so I don't just keep going, but don't be afraid to interrupt me. And
Okay.
so it's up to you if you want to comment as we go or wait till the end, totally fine. So I'm going to start with your theme, which is the Eight of Pentacles reversed. And I actually really love this one of my favorite cards. Well, I can't say that I have too many favorite cards, but I love this card for you for just the reading in general that's coming up. So the Eight of Pentacles, it speaks to a feeling of impatience, but because
Mm.
actually it's kind of ironic based on what you were just sharing about how you can, do what you need to do without being an expert, because this card in and of itself speaks to having to be the student when you actually feel like you want to already be the expert. That's the energy that's coming up around your theme is when it comes to your programming, there's a part of you that wants to, that almost feels like you should be almost farther along or you have a hard time with starting over. It's this idea of like you have to be the apprentice again. And there's a part of you that's like, but I've done the apprentice. I kind of want to be past the apprentice. And with this one, I love it because it specifically speaks to when you lean into student, being the student in apprenticeship, especially when it comes to, like your own programs, which I think when we put out a program that's like an actual official program, we feel like, well, we should be an expert when we put the program out. But the thing is, we're always learning too. Kind of like to your point, when you're becoming a curator of events, you're learning as you go in that situation. So your theme is actually learning how to still be the student, even though there might be a part of you.
Yeah, well, I gotta say, like entrepreneurialism, I've been an artist my whole life. So, like, this whole thing of becoming an entrepreneur, there is so much to learn. I mean, so much to learn. So, yeah, that totally resonates because I feel like every day it's like when I look back how far we've come, what we've done, what I've learned, what I now take for granted. It gives me a lot of pride, but I also look at the mountain ahead and know that there's still so much to learn and do and accomplish and to get where I want to go. So yeah, that totally resonates.
It's just that reminder of, yes, you're going to be teaching this, but also you're still going to be learning, and to not fight that feeling.
Well, I don't know
Looking.
about that, to be honest. No,
Yeah.
seriously, because I mean, I've had 12 years of doing what I'm going to be teaching for a passion
Hmm.
project, and I've had 40
Yeah.
years of being an actor. So I don't know, I don't feel that way about what I teach, but
Hmm.
I do feel that way definitely about being a student as far as what I have to learn for my own path.
Right. I'm wondering if this too, maybe it's speaking to like the, not necessarily the teaching part of it, but like the running of it, of the program maybe.
Probably. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the starting point is just like there's a little resistance around that, but just leaning more into being a student. Looking at your recent past, we have the Hierophant reversed.
The what? What is that?
The Hierophant. I know it's a fun
Arrow.
one to say. So this is what the picture looks like. For
Reverse.
you, it came up reversed though. So this is actually a cool card. Like the lineup on the top, the past, present, future energies is actually very cool. The Hierophant isn't from your past, kind of the energy you're coming from. And it's just speaking to you. You've had to really relearn how you look at things, how you were raised, how you saw, how you should be living your life. You really had to go back and peel back the layers of programming, of conditioning, of what people told you should be doing, and figuring out, well, what actually feels good to me. not what everyone else is saying. So learning how to self-govern, learning how
Mm,
that self-sovereignty. And so I feel like and it is reversed. There's like a lot of awareness around it. I think that just it's just speaking to your past, leading into your career now, you really had to figure out, well, who am I? What is it that I'm wanting to do versus what other people are expecting of me or society is expecting of me? Who like what is it that I bring to the table? What are my values? What who, just really peeling back again, like programming from probably child usually goes back to childhood, but just what society tells us. Here's your box. This is where you stay in, and you learning. I'm going to go outside the box. Thank you. But that takes a lot of work. It's not easy to do that. So that it's just speaking to in order to be where you're at now, you've had to do a lot of that on programming and let go of beliefs and values and things that you were raised with or had for very long, and then realize, no, that's not helping me now. That's not serving me right now and releasing it.
mm, mm. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've always been a rebel, so I'm not sure, but I know that when I decided to relaunch my acting career,
Hmm.
ooh, that was a tough time between my husband and I, and even with our son, because he saw how upset my husband was, his dad, and there was just a lot of pull around what was expected of me as a mother and a wife, and my own desires to self-actualize.
Hmm.
And these are also themes that really interest me in my writing as well. Like, especially women who are, whether, you want to call it selfish or not. I think some people would say that I was selfish to pursue an acting career when it was causing my husband so much pain. But I think, it's my life and I have to live it the way I see it. And it is what it is, right? But it doesn't mean I'm happy to hurt him. It definitely, and it was difficult. I mean, we almost divorced over it a couple of times over like a 10-year period. And I think he finally kind of accepted it. And, I think anyway, relationships, a 30-year relationship will die and be reborn many times, and either they are reborn like a phoenix from the flame or they're not. But
Yeah.
the relationship will not stay the same. And so, but this was our hardest one, was because everything for him, I think, felt like it was really changing.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways it was. So it is a theme that definitely resonates with me, like women who are pulled, because I'm also very, very maternal.
Mhm.
So, and really, really want to be there for my son and all of that. And yet had this huge pull to, yeah,
Yeah.
self-actualization and guilt around that as well. So, yeah, that makes sense too.
That, yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned I'm so sorry you went through that with your husband, but that actually comes a lot with the Hierophant is pushback from family, pushback from close, like
Yeah,
marital partners. Because again, there's this societal expectation, and especially you saying that you're so maternal, there's probably a part of you that was dealing with some internal guilt of like, am I
totally.
making the
Yeah.
worst decision right now? And
Am
yet
I being selfish? Yeah, exactly.
yeah. But it's
Yeah,
more about learning how to listen. No, this is what I need to do. Like, regardless, I feel
yeah,
like this is in alignment with me, even though no one else understands. And that's part of the unraveling of the Hierophant is learning how to release expectations and things that were put on you in order to get more aligned with yourself. And that's not easy, especially when you get the pushback. So I love that that's in your past because it does show that, that that's where you're coming from and that's how you've gotten where you are. Presently, I have the sun reversed.
a lot of
And
reverse cards.
yeah, lots of
Okay.
reversed. Yeah. So the sun, I love this. So the sun, I like to call the sun the butterfly card. So when you think of the caterpillar becoming the butterfly, it has to go through a gooey mess, which is probably what the Hierophant is speaking to, right? The gooey mess to get
Right.
where you are now.
Yeah.
Um, you had to, fight to become who you are, essentially. And once you get to the sun, it's time to really just show off who you are. Like, these are my beautiful wings I've curated in my journey, and you're showing them off and you're standing in your authenticity. With it being reversed, that usually speaks to like, it's like you're on this interesting, how do you explain it? It's like you're kind of teetering like on a seesaw, where like on one hand there's a part of you that still kind of has some like, I don't know if it's guilt or like fears of really showing up as the butterfly, because when we become a newer version of ourselves, there are still people who know us as the caterpillar, and it's like, oh my gosh, will they like me as the butterfly? Maybe I shouldn't show off my wings too proudly, because what will they think of me with my
I don't think
wings?
that's my problem, Sarah. But you know what it could be, which is, I mean, this is what I kind of alluded to in the email, was
Hmm.
I feel like I'm standing like at this crossroads. And I could fully lean into being a coach. I
Hmm.
could fully lean, into my acting career and like put so much of this energy that I'm putting into the coaching, into
Hmm.
the acting. I can kind of split, and which is kind of what I'm doing right now. It's like I'm, like I taped two auditions today. I had, so I feel like I'm sort of being torn in all these different directions. And and I am very interested. The coaching I'm finding is very fulfilling on many levels. Naturally, I have like I never am like, yeah, I just want to coach little groups. No, I want like, to be on big stages and all of that. That part
Yeah.
of me still comes out, right?
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's what it is like trying to decide which wings to put on.
And it could even be if you've evolved and you're finding yourself leaning more towards coaching, but the caterpillar was more the acting for you. Because we've evolved as the caterpillar and butterfly several times in our lives, right? So like, and so I'm wondering if maybe it's more like, yeah, which wings to put on, and for yourself, which one is more authentic? Because the sun is all about putting on the most authentic wings, the ones that really feel like
Interesting.
you,
Yeah.
that really feel
Yeah.
aligned. And so it does speak to that, um, yeah, because with it being, well, so when the sun's reversed, it's all about like, how do I show up as my best self? And usually there's a feeling of being torn. And so, and it could even be you've built this career as an actress, and now you're building this career as a coach. There could even be this part of you that's like, well, people take me as seriously as a coach as they did as an actress. So there could be that aspect as well. Um,
Not everyone wants to talk about their situation or life questions out loud, and that's okay. That's why my email tarot readings are a perfect fit for the inward seekers, the ones who feel deeply, process everything, and don't always have the words or the energy for a live session. Here's how it works. You send your question, I tune in, pull cards, and record a 17 to 25-minute voice message, channeling what comes through around your question and situation. You'll also receive a photo of the cards pulled, all delivered to your inbox within 24 hours. My intention is always to honor your journey with sincerity and heart-aligned guidance. If this feels like the kind of support you've been craving, let's connect. You can find me at the link below or at www.spiritjourneycollective.com.
People think. So it's
mhm.
for me, it's always internal struggles. Like
Yeah.
what, but I feel like I'm also very in tune just as an actor, like always
Hmm.
checking in and all of that. And I also feel like no matter what anyone ends up doing in life,
Hmm.
whatever they have done is important and has led into that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's
Yeah.
just like it's more about that transitional, like what's happening, where like how do I be my most authentic self is kind of what's the question, and what
Yeah.
you'll have to work through and kind of lean more into. Moving into the near future, I love this. Is the Ten of Pentacles also reversed?
Upside down. Okay.
And then the higher self message to the near future is the Wheel. And so I'm going to go over both of these like together, but like one card at a time. So the Ten of Pentacles reversed. So this one is a great card, especially for what you're trying to put out to the world. And I would say even both with acting and your programs, either way. But it's basically saying that you stand out. What you do makes a difference. In fact, if you look at the picture, see all these people standing around in a circle holding hands, like
Yeah.
you're the tree basically. Like you bring people together.
Oh,
That's just one of your
nice.
energies.
That's
And so,
beautiful.
I love it because it also speaks to like the ripple effect. Like you help one person and then think about all the other people they help as well. And so So again with the reversal, there's just kind of this like not fully seeing what you can, like your potential, like wanting, like
Mm.
maybe it's almost like, well, it's just me, can I really make that big of a difference? You want to make the difference, but it's still like, can I really do it? And this card's like, yeah, yes. It's more like coming back to that sun and like really like owning it, because I think that's part of
Yeah,
the sun too, is also owning like your own alignment and owning your own power and owning what you bring to the world. And this is just like saying you have it in you. Your words, your story, it has impact and it's going to bring people together. And so it's just, this one is just all about owning it. Yes, that's my power. That's like what I'm here for. I'm here to bring people together and make an impact. And the higher self message is the wheel. And so this one is interesting. It talks about learning how to see any kind of setbacks as, like twisting it into a positive instead of like feeling like, oh no, it's a setback, now what am I going to do, or feeling like it's falling apart. So it's interesting that that's coming up in the near future. It doesn't, it's not always setbacks, but it's just learning to have that balance, whether it's something really good or something that's not so good. It's learning how to have that balance and that idea of it's all happening for me. There's no, it's not, there's no bad or good. It's just, it's all happening for me.
I believe that. Yeah, I really do. It may not feel like that all the time, but I do believe that it has its purpose, whatever that it may be. There's a reason for it. There's a reason you have to learn that lesson or
Yeah.
whatever it may happen to be. But I do believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much that it's happening for me, not to me energy, which is like the opposite of victim mentality, which is, oh my God, my world's, it's crumbling. And now, and so I find that interesting being in the near future with the Ten of Pentacles. I think it's just, I'm wondering if there's a part of you that's like, it's saying that, you make this big impact. And so if something doesn't quite go the way you want it to, or hoping it will, or there's a setback, like feeling like your impact will be less. Maybe that's what it's speaking to, but knowing that no, it doesn't matter what is or isn't happening, your impact is going to be the same. Your impact is still going to make a difference, even if something happens to not necessarily go the way that you want it, or coming back to that mentality of I'm still putting amazing content out there, and it's all happening for me, not to me, and it's all happening for the greater good. So also coming back to that impact, anyone that you're going to be touching and having that impact on is going to be positive. It's going to be helping people. Because that
Okay.
was all about just kind of trusting the process, trusting what unfolds. Um, so the two cards in the middle, the first one is the Ten of Wands. So this one is just saying watch what you're putting on your plate and how much you're carrying. Because when
Oh,
the
yeah.
when the
Oh,
ten of
yeah.
wands comes up, it's basically like you got a lot of spinning plates that you're trying to
I
hold at the
do.
same time.
Yeah.
And so what happens with the ten of wands is one of two things. Either you can actually stop and be like, okay, I really need to take inventory and figure out what I want to continue to carry and what I can delegate or what I can completely set down, and really taking the inventory, and that will help you make space for what you're trying to create and put out there and who you want to become. Versus the flip side of that is continuing to take things on, take things on, take things on until now you're overwhelmed and then you don't have extra energy to do other things, and then it's just like too much weight. And so right now it's just kind of letting you know you're at the place in your life where you need to take inventory. And that could even be speaking to that sun card too, is figuring out what are you putting energy into that really aligns with you, and what are you putting energy into that doesn't align with you. That can either, like I said, be delegated so someone else can help you carry it, or you can set it down entirely. But so it hasn't gotten to the overwhelmed state yet. It's just letting you know that you're kind of teetering on this place where you've got so much going on. You really need to see what you can lighten, how you can lighten the load.
Yeah. That definitely resonates. Yeah, too much going on. True.
And then the card next to it is just kind of a, yeah, I'll just tell you what the card is. It's the Ace of Cups, and this one is just a huge invitation to emotional self care, which kind of ties a lot into that Ten of Wands. If you have so much going on, you don't really have the space to like stop and breathe and like really take care of you. And so the Ace of Cups, the biggest invitation with this is to just get in touch with your emotional capacity on a daily basis, because we're either operating from a full cup, half cup, empty cup, right? Like emotionally. But if you don't know where you're standing with your emotions, you're not going to be able to get that under control where you can feel nourished and you can feel like you're emotionally, you're not overwhelmed, you're doing okay. And not only that, but the ideal is to have your cup overflowing so that way you can give to others without taking from your own reserves. And so
Mm.
this is just letting you know that like your emotional, especially with being right next to the 10 of wands, I feel like it's like, hey, your emotional self-care and taking care of you is getting on the back burner and we need to make more space to add how can I take care of me on a daily basis, whether it's taking 5 minutes to meditate or taking 30 minutes to read a book you've been meaning to read, or something that like really just makes you feel like you can just take that big like deep breath or that big glass of water and just be like,
Yeah, I wonder it's because, my son is my partner.
okay.
And so I'm basically working for him. Even though it's my business. I own 70, he owns 30. But like a majority of like all of the expense or the well, everything is going to him because he lives in LA. He's got to pay his life and da 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 da. And I'm okay. I have other streams of income with my commercials and acting and my husband and all these things, right? But I'm definitely feeling the strain of that at this point. And it's like I feel like we need to either it's got to be justified, this exorbitant amount every month, or I can't go on with it. I'm not willing to go into my savings or anything, which I did for a year
Mm.
because I was getting my coaching business off the ground. He was helping. I was compensating him, and he deserves all that and more. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but the well is running dry, right? Because that's how it goes, right? Until you get new things in. So I'm definitely feeling a lot of pressure in all of that. And I've told him, like, you need to think about some other things to subsidize or something. I am not going to be dipping into my savings anymore, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's it as well, because that's definitely a stress and a strain at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, well, that also sounds like definitely 10 of Wands energy of like looking at everything you've got going on and figuring out what needs to be put down. It's like that's something that needs to be put down. And then the emotional capacity is, yeah, it's creating circumstances where you're more at peace, which that would be a form of that, right? Is kind of taking away that stress. But usually it's more like a daily practice. The Ace of Cups
Mm.
specifically, because it's more like how can you check in with yourself daily and see how full your cup is? Is my cup empty? Oh, it's empty. What can I do to refill that? What do I need to nourish my emotional capacity to refill that? If it's full, great. I maybe just need to check in and see I'm good and move on with my day. Or, oh my God, maybe this thing coming up, I just need to either reschedule, or before I do this thing I need to really prioritize time for me just to kind of reconnect and recenter myself. So that's more about like a daily checking in with your emotional
Okay.
capacity,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I was doing it for a long time. I go jogging every day with my dog. Even today, I know we had beautiful weather here, so I hadn't done this with her in so long. I took two breaks during the day to play frisbee with her, which I hadn't, and
Mm.
she was thrilled. And yeah, it felt good, I have to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, that's exactly what, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think when people think self-care, they think of like, oh, meditating or, walking through nature, or, it's always these really like vague or
Esoteric. Yeah.
yeah
Yeah.
things, but like that's a perfect example. When you go and play frisbee with your dog, it refreshes you, you enjoy the time with your dog, and then it's easier to come back to the real world like, okay, my cup's been refilled while I played with my dog
And
you
hers
know
too.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that example. That's so yeah, exactly, doing things like that
Yeah.
is like, okay, cool, now I'm good to go to my next interview and I feel refreshed. I don't feel like I'm giving from the bottom of the barrel kind of energy.
Yeah, that makes really good sense. And I think I do need to get back into a practice of meditating. I was doing it, not huge, but like 5 minutes a day, and I just because I like to do it outside, I had stopped because we had winter,
Mm.
and but now spring is here, so I can start again. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So that was everything that came through. I do feel like with the sun reverse and the Eight of Pentacles, I feel like a lot of what you're doing is you're learning and you're in the middle of this like transitional period where you're trying to figure out really who you are and what really aligns with you and what it is that you're like the next step that feels the most you. And it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily pick one or the other because I they're both really important to you, but I think leaning more picking an energy that feels that you could put more into one or the other.
yeah, I
I just
don't
mean
know.
I
And I
feel
can
like
feel all
it's
this resistance even just thinking about it. So I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
Um,
with the sun here it's there's definitely like I think you said it perfectly, which wings do I need to put on? And I think that that's kind of where you're at is learning which one is more fulfilling and which one can you, put more energy into and the other one you could put less. Not like, and it doesn't
yeah.
mean that acting or that one will become a hobby. I think it's just more like which one is really filling my soul more than the other one.
I also feel like the acting takes me away a lot,
Mm,
which is hard for my husband. And he's now getting to a point where he's getting close to retiring and wants to travel more. And that's hard as an actor because generally, like the rule is we book a trip, I get cast in something. And that's Murphy's Law. It almost always happens. And that sucks. So it's also been something that's been on my mind. He deserves to have a nice retirement. He deserves to travel. He deserves to have his wife with him. The coaching I can also do more on my own, like control it more. I don't know. There are so many things swirling in here right now.
yeah.
But then I think that then it comes the devil's advocate. It's like, yeah, but if you were doing your own stuff, right, creating your own projects, your own films, then you could be doing that as well. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. It will play out one way or another, but
I would
yeah.
say the biggest thing here, like the biggest invitations, because of like where you're at, it's like make sure you continue to be that student, taking in what both sides, like what are you learning, what's meant, what
Yeah.
makes sense, and then really making sure you're not overwhelming yourself and taking with that because I feel like especially with the making the space for self-care you'll likely find more clarity around this situation because right now with
Probably.
the ten of
Yeah.
wands here it's like you've got so much going on where's the space for you to connect with yourself to see what you really want and what really calls to you because maybe you can find a way to do both and still have that and still have your husband be a part of it. You know what I mean? So he doesn't feel. So I mean, there may be more options that you're not necessarily seeing, and I feel like it's just
Mm.
like make space for you to really connect with yourself, to really find that center and clarity.
And it's interesting because my friend's reading, it was very similar in that, yeah, even then, well, it was a few months ago, but I see not much has changed. She was like, "You're juggling so many plates, and you're doing so much, and you need to take time, and you're standing at a crossroads." So I guess everything is still kind of the same. I'm still where I was. Um, it's what it
I,
sounds like. Yeah.
it's funny you say that because that will happen a lot of times when you get so even if you get readings from different people, it'll usually there's a similar theme that will follow you until it's been
Until something changes. Yeah.
exactly. And I mean, I
Yeah.
do feel like you know, with the Eight of Pentacles here, it speaks to being that student. It speaks to learning. It speaks to like, you're on the journey. So I would say that that's actually a good sign that you have most likely made progress since then. It's just, it's you're learning as you go. And as you learn, you'll find more of what you're needing. But yeah, the law of invitation is making space for you, self-care, working through like what is it, like what's the most authentic thing for you right now and figuring out what that means to you, and so yeah, that's really cool that it coincided though.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I really appreciate this. It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining me and letting me have you on as a guest for my new series. I super appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate you doing this. It was definitely gave me a lot to think about and yeah, my biggest takeaway from this is slow down, don't put so much on my plate, and definitely take time Yeah, I don't want to wear myself thin, you know. And I know that has also been at the back of my mind. Like, just careful, you're running yourself ragged. So
Yeah.
slow down. Yeah.
Thank you for joining me on another inspiring episode. I hope these conversations have ignited a spark within you. Until next time, keep exploring, growing, and embracing the beautiful adventure of connecting with your purpose. Stay tuned for more meaningful conversations. If you enjoyed the episode today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for joining me on this journey.